Yeah, good morning. So, last class, I think we finished off with measures of governance. Right now, two batches are combined. I think for one batch, I need to discuss only one point, extra point. It takes another 5 minutes. Then there'll be no changes in the classes. Batch 8 and 9 is combined here. So, in this, we finished off with voice and accountability. Okay. For one batch, I just finished off with voice and accountability. For another batch, I just finished off with political stability and absence of violence regarding measures of governance. Okay. So in this, I'll just discuss the second point and go for the remaining aspects of measures of governance. In this, if we take this political stability, so this is another measure in governance. Okay, if you want to measure a governance in a society, next important term is political stability. So political stability have two dimensions. One is tenure. Here tenure means how many years the government will be in power. This is based on constitution. It differs from country to country. For example, if you take India, it's 5 years. Whereas if you say US, it's 4 years. So this is what tenure aspect is. So political stability is not only able to run the government for given term. For example, it can be 5 years or 4 years. Apart from this, political stability also includes ability to make laws. So ability to make laws. So government should have the ability to make laws. Take example right now India. We have a parliament. So in that parliament, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha is there, correct? So batch 4 also here. So what are the batches right now you're attending? And for everyone it's a common only, correct? So what are the batches right now you're attending? Batch 4 is here then. Can you put some message? Batch 5, okay. So it's batch 4 and batch 5, okay. So in this you can see that political stability is tenure and ability to make laws. Okay. So that is one. Is this the right topic? This is the point we want to discuss, correct? There was little confusion because in the previous class, for batch 4, you have to good governance point 3 you have completed. Okay then. Okay, batch 4 students just wait for 5 to 10 minutes. Good governance started. Okay. So we just quickly go through all these things and go for good governance. Batch 4, just wait for 5 to 10 minutes. And we can start with the good governance topic itself. So if we take this political stability, it's tenure and ability to make laws. And absence of violence, there are two dimensions. One is internal threats and external threats. So when you say internal threats for India, it can be Maoism, insurgency, and terrorism. And external threats, China, Pakistan, and cross-border terrorism. Cross-border terrorism. So these are some of the internal external threats. Okay. So measures of governance, second point, political stability, that is tenure and ability to make laws. And absence of violence is nothing but external threats and internal threats. So this is another measure. Please note it down. We go for the next one. As two batches are combined, for another batch, I'm just 2 slides ahead. So I will finish off and go for it. Takes another 10 to 15 minutes. Just wait for it. So batch 4, just wait for another 5 to 10 minutes. I'll go for the next one. The next thing is effectiveness of the government in measures of governance. Effectiveness of the government. So what is this effectiveness of the government means? Ability to reach the goals. That is called effectiveness of the government. Ability to reach the goals. Right now, if we take Indian government as example, we have 5-year plans. We finished off. We don't have 5-year plans right now. We got 12 5-year plans. In that 12 5-year plans, we can see that only 2 5-year plans we are able to reach the target. This clearly shows that we are not very effective. And a lot of other examples are there. Family planning is a good example where we are not effective. Okay, in 1950s, India was the first country to focus on family planning. They thought that population will be the biggest headache, so we need to minimize it. But by 2020, we are the second highest populated country. So can anyone say when India is going to surpass China? So when India is going to surpass China in population? Any idea? Which year is that? 2050, okay, then 2030, 2040. Please understand, we are going to surpass China by 2026. So another 5 years down the line, we are going to surpass China in population. By 2035, I think, by 2035 or 45, I'm not very sure. By 2035 or somewhere, we are going to stabilize our population. Right now, population is increasing in India. Another 10 years or 15 years down the line, we will stabilize it. By 2025 or 26, we are going to surpass China in population. Okay. So this clearly shows the effectiveness of the government. We failed in controlling population. And regulatory burden, that's nothing but too much of rules and regulations. Too much of rules and regulations. We call it as regulatory burden. And go and check, recently labor code was passed. So this can be also a mains question. For a economics angle, this can be a mains question, labor code. So labor laws in India was highly regulated, but recently it was changed. Labor code was introduced. Go and check what is labor code. I think last 5 months before. Next thing is rule of law. That is Article 14. So Article 14 of Indian Constitution is a good example of rule of law. And finally, control of corruption. So all the 6 factors is able to measure the governance. Can anyone say in these 6 factors which are most favorable for India? Out of the 6 factors, which are more favorable for India? Your understanding. Out of this, okay, these 4 are positives for India. So can I identify which are the factors? Political stability is one. Apart from political stability, any other factors more favorable for India? 5th point, rule of law, that's correct. 5th point, rule of law is correct. Voice and accountability, that's correct. Okay, all the 3 factors are more favorable. Whereas still we have regulatory issues. Corruption is the biggest problem in India, we know that. And effectiveness of the government. So these 3 factors are not in positive directions. So these are the measures of governance. So what World Bank says is, if you want to measure governance in a society, use the 6 parameters. Okay. Next we go for the term called good governance. This is not required. Write down good governance. What is it? Write down what is the definition of good governance. We finished put yes. Reaching grassroots level. Sir, if accountability increases, effectiveness also increases, right? That's correct. If you increase your accountability, we'll see what is accountability means. Answerability. If that increases, effectiveness also increases. We'll see that all these topics are there. So what is good governance means? Please understand, until now we saw governance. Governance means structures. Governance means structures. What is that structure? Government, market, civil society organizations. That's called structures. Governance means structures. What is good governance means? Values plus structures. So what they say is, creating structure is not enough. In that structures, we need to have some value systems. To understand what is this value system and all, can anyone say what are the important institutions for a democracy? If you want to run a democracy, what are the important institutions? So can you identify important institutions for a democracy? Without that, you can't run the democracy. What are those institutions? One is legislature. Next thing is judiciary. And we have executives and media. Media is considered to be the 4th pillar, correct? My question is, right now in India, there is biggest criticism against judiciary. What is that criticism? Can you identify that criticism against judiciary? So what is the biggest criticism against judiciary in India? Anyone able to identify which area? One is judicial overreach, judicial activism, correct? Judicial activism. A good way of understanding this is what is judicial overreach is, we know this recently there was a farmers protest, correct? In that farmers protest, you know that it ended in violence. And is that you know what Supreme Court is doing right now? Based on a PIL, what is Supreme Court is doing? Any idea? Mediating. So Supreme Court is appointing a committee, and that committee will inquire what happened during this farmers protest. Please understand, all this need to be done by the government, not by the judiciary. So the judiciary is extending beyond its requirement. Okay. They want to interpret the law. They want to guard the constitution. Right now, they are acting as an executive. Correct? Go and check this news article. Right now, that need to be done by the government. Suddenly, judiciary is saying that we will appoint a committee headed by a retired justice, and they will inquire what happened in farmers' protest. They'll submit the report to us. This should not be done by a judiciary. Okay. One of the biggest problem right now in India regarding judiciary is judicial overreach. Activism is good, overreach is bad. Apart from this, another biggest area where criticism against judiciary is regarding appointment of judges. And is that topic taught to you in polity? Appointment of judges. Is that okay? Appointment of judges. Okay, what are the basis on which judges are appointed in India? So, what are the basis on which judges are being appointed? Based on collegium. Okay, that's a term called collegium. What is collegium means? Chief Justice of India plus 4 senior most judge. So they will recommend the name for the government. That person will be appointed as a judge, either in High Court or Supreme Court. But one of the biggest problem in this appointment process, no one knows on what basis people are being selected. If we ask collegium, collegium says that based on judicial merit. But government got IB reports, Intelligence Bureau reports, stating that some of the names recommended are highly corrupt, unethical. But still, government can't do anything because there is a judicial interpretation of the constitution stating that what is the name recommended by collegium need to be accepted by the government. So here, what is the biggest question of judiciary is nothing but transparency and accountability. We'll see that. Transparency and accountability. This being questioned by the government and people. We ask the collegium, okay, why you are appointing that person, they will not give the reasons. Even IB report says that they are highly corrupt. So there is no transparency on what basis people are being selected. They just literally say it's a judicial merit based on seniority. So that is what value system is. Here value system is nothing but accountability and transparency. We'll see what is accountability and transparency means. So what good governance means, it's not only creating structures plus value systems. We call it as good governance. We'll see what that value systems is. Okay. And this definition is given by UNDP, United Nations Development Program. I think you copied this. So what is judicial activism means? I'll say this very briefly. So what is judicial activism means? Right now we said that for any democracy, there are 3 important institutions: legislature, executive and judiciary. And please understand, legislature and executive cannot predict all situations. Simple thing. Can Parliament create law for another 50 years? Can you understand my question? Can Parliament predict another 50 years? Right now we are 2021. Can they create a law for 2071 saying that 2071 will be like this? Can Parliament do it? Please understand, literally they can't, because they doesn't know what will happen during the time, correct? So there will be some vacuum in a society. Vacuum means certain times where Parliament doesn't have a law, but society is transforming in such a way. For temporary basis, if that space is filled by judiciary, that's called judicial activism. The most important term here is temporary basis. On temporary basis, judiciary is filling the space of legislature or executive. We call it as judicial activism. Yeah, good example for that thing is, I'm just quoting all these things. You need to do a basic research on it. I'm not dealing in very detailed aspects. Vishaha guidelines. This is a good example of judicial activism. What does this Vishaha guidelines means? This is regarding sexual harassment at workplaces. And you know that after 1991, when economy got opened, women got integrated into economic activities because service sector was dominating, where women mean to get integrated into economic activity. Sexual harassment was happening at the workplaces. And if a woman comes to you, assume that you are the SP of the district. If a woman comes to you with a complaint saying that sexual harassment is happening in my workplace, when you can entertain a case, when you can file a case, can you understand my question? Assume that you are an SP of a district. Suddenly, 10 women come to you from a particular company saying that in my company there is sexual harassment at workplaces. When you can entertain a case, when you can file a case, please understand, not violation of law, please understand when there is a specific law for it. Can you understand the point? There should be a specific law saying that sexual harassment workplace is a crime. There should be a law for it. So what happened during 1990s where there was no such law? So Supreme Court gave this idea called Vishaha guidelines. They said to the executive, judiciary said to the executive, until law made by the parliament, can you understand the point? Until law made by the parliament, executive can follow this Vishaha guidelines. How to file a case. This is called judicial activism. Okay, I'm just giving very briefly about judicial activism. You need to go and check what is judicial activism in depth, and there will be polity classes on it. Right now, judicial activism is transforming into judicial overreach. What is judicial overreach? Use your common sense, correct? Activism means temporary basis. Overreach means judiciary will perform on permanent basis, saying that I'll be the executive, I'll be the legislature, I'll do the work on permanent basis. That's called judicial overreach. Judicial overreach is a negative concept for any democracy. Judicial activism is required, but judicial overreach is a negative concept. Just have this in mind. Just check in polity classes and go and check what Vishaha guidelines means. Okay. And next thing is, what are those values? Features of good governance. In this first one is participation. So these are the values of good governance. So in development process, whose participation is important? Without their participation, development cannot happen. Whose participation is that? So can you say whose participation is important in development process? It's not government, please understand, participation of the people. So what is good governance means in development process? There should be active people's participation. So in what area they need to participate is, they need to participate in decision making. They should be actively participating in decision making. So what is the example for this in India right now is, take example of Gram Sabha. So can anyone say what is Gram Sabha means? So what is Gram Sabha? Can anyone say what is Gram Sabha means? Panchayat is different, Gram Sabha is different. Please understand. What is Gram Sabha? Your understanding of the term Gram Sabha, can you say? Assembly of villages, very specific. In villages, people form a group and discuss. It consists of elders. Please understand, it's not elders. That's correct. Someone has rightly put. What is Gram Sabha means? All eligible voters is part of Gram Sabha. In a village, all eligible voters are part of Gram Sabha. Can you understand the point? So Gram Sabha means all eligible voters in the village constitute Gram Sabha. Right now, Gram Sabha is playing an active role in decision making of people. How we can see that? Take the example of MG Narega. Take the example of MG Narega Act, correct? In MG Narega Act, you know that it's 100 days unskilled labor. In rural area, government gives the job for the people for 100 days in a year. It's unskilled labor. Can anyone say what government is doing with that particular 100 days labor? If I'm in rural area, government gives 100 days job for me. What job I'm doing there? Any idea? What job I'm doing there? So, mostly they focus on rural infrastructure. They focus on rural infrastructures. So, under MG Narega, they are focusing on rural infrastructures. And what rural infrastructure is decided by Gram Sabha. Can you understand the point? People will decide what infrastructure they want to create. To understand this, take an example. If there is a village in Rajasthan, what infrastructure they want village in Rajasthan? Use your common sense. That's it. There is a village in Rajasthan. What type of infrastructure they demand? Rajasthan is a desert area, correct? So mostly what they do is they focus on check dams, water conservation measures. That work will be done by under MG Narega, and that is decided by Gram Sabha. So here you can see that people's participation in decision making. Government is not saying anything. Government says that we provide 100 days labor. As a village persons, you decide what infrastructure you want to create. Either it can be water conservation measures, check dams, or road, or any other aspects, all related to rural infrastructures. That's called participation. So participation is important value of good governance. Okay. Next thing is accountability. So what is accountability means? Answerability for public actions. That's called accountability. So answerability for public actions, that's called accountability. So if the development process is happening, and if you are an official, if you are a minister, you are answerable. That should be there. That's called accountability factor. That's important good governance value, right? So can you say in which mechanism we have this accountability established? Just use your common sense. Where this accountability is established? In which institution is like that? Assume that you are the minister. So where you are answerable as a minister? RTI is one, great. RTI is one. Apart from this, another good example is you can relate with elections. Parliament is another good example, correct? So that's called accountability. The next thing is consensus oriented. Next thing is consensus oriented. So what is this consensus oriented means? Okay, assume that you are the secretary for Ministry of Agriculture and you are going to design a policy for farmers. Can you say who are the people you consult for this? Logically, you are the secretary for Ministry of Agriculture. You are going to design a policy for farmers. Who are the people you consult here? One is farmers, that's correct. Farmers is one. So you start with farmers. Apart from farmers, who are the other ones you consult is? Farmers. Next we have agriculture research or agriculture scientists, you contact them. Agriculture scientist. Then any other thing apart from this? And R&D is there. Banks. Next, when you say banks, means right now in India, which is responsible for agriculture is NABARD. Sometimes UPSC can ask very basic prelims question. What is the role of NABARD? Can you understand the point? We know RBI very precisely, but a lot of other institutions are like this, like NABARD. Go and check what this NABARD is. Similarly, go and check what this Mudra Bank is. I'm just giving a hint. You work on it. Mudra Bank. So what is the role of all these banks? NABARD, Mudra Bank, RBI. Sometimes UPSC will ask very basic question in economics. They can ask you to say what is the role of NABARD. Okay. So National Bank, that's an expansion. And next thing is we need to focus on consumers. So when you say agriculture policy or farmers policy, you need to focus on consumers also, correct? So what are the needs of the consumer? What's their interest? That we need to know it. Then only you can focus on agricultural activities, correct? Simple thing right now, industries is also there, correct? Right now, take example, which agriculture product is easily marketable right now in India? Logically think of. As a consumer, which product we always love to buy in agricultural commodities, either vegetables or fruits. Rice is okay. Apart from rice, there is some tag is for it. That if you have that tag, you can give some premium prices. You give extra money for it. And so right now we have a term called organic. You will understand the point. So consumers right now love organic products. So you need to create a policy based on it, correct? Can you say which state in India is first organic state? This can be a prelims question. Anyone have an idea? Which state in India is considered to be the organic state? That's correct, Sikkim. So not northeastern states, it's Sikkim. Just go and check what are the Sikkim and organic states and all those stuffs. Okay. And next thing is, right now there's a potential for export also. So when you say export means either it can be WTO or FAO. World Trade Organization, Food and Agriculture Organization, where you need to contact and know their ideas. So what is consensus here means? So when you want to design a policy, you can see multiple players are involved in it. We call them as stakeholders. Keep that in mind. This is a term, you can use it in your governance. Stakeholders means all this group of people, right from farmers to WTO is called as stakeholders. So what is consensus oriented means, right on? What is consensus oriented means? In decision making process, taking into consideration of various stakeholders' interest. So that is called consensus. So right now take example of farmers law, and who's left out in that? Right now farmers law is being created by the union government, correct? Whose interest is left out here? So that is the reason for protest, and you can see that it turned into violence. All this happened recently in Delhi, correct? So we can see that farmers' interest was not reflected there, especially regarding MSP and all those stuffs. And next thing is transparency. So what is this transparency means? What is the English term transparency means? English term transparency? Can you identify what is transparency as English term? Visible or see-through. What is transparency in development process of public services means? Read out. Transparency means to share public informations. There should not be any secrecy. To share public informations. So right now we have a law for it. What are the laws? RTI, Right to Information Act. So right now we have a law for this. We'll see that what is this RTI Act and all. So transparency means sharing public informations. The next thing is responsiveness. To understand responsiveness, okay, how many of you visited police stations in India? So leave out if it is for passport, it's not required. Apart from this, any other personal issues? You visited police stations? For what reason? Someone has put yes. Okay, for what reason? One is phone lost. My phone was stolen, correct? Okay, my question is, what is the response of the police there? You lost your phone, correct? Or you lost your two-wheeler. So what is the response of the police there? Your feeling of police station, correct? So is that they are very good? Once you go and say to them, sir, I lost my mobile phone or I lost my two-wheeler, is that say that, okay, no problem, just give you all your details, I'll file an FIR and give it to you? Is that they treated like this, or what happens there most of the time? Friend was accused of false crime. Okay, depends on the importance of the case. Lethargy, correct? So they listened and spoken responsibility, that's great. Responsibly, that's great. Most of the time in police station, what happens is you can wait for the entire day. No one bothers you, correct? Even if you go and say to them, sir, I lost my mobile phone. So they will not be comforting you. They will say, no problem, okay, we'll check it out. And they will not say like that. They will curse you, correct? They say that you're grown up, you doesn't know how to keep your mobile phone. All this will be there. And responsiveness will be very worst there, correct? Similarly, traffic policies, all this happens. Okay. So what does this responsiveness means? Responsiveness means to provide services as and when demanded by citizens. Provide services as and when demanded by citizens. And to understand this, we can compare two institutions. One is government bank and private bank. So where you can easily get the work done, government bank or private bank. For example, you want to open a bank account. Where it is very easy, private bank or government bank. Literally, you can see that in private bank, within minutes, you can open a bank account. If you have all the documents, required documents. But if you go for government banks, you doesn't know when the work will be done. At least it takes 1 week. First day they ask you to come, first day you go and ask them, okay, how to open a bank account. They give the procedure and ask you to come 2 days later. After 2 days, you give all the documents. They ask, come another 2 days. And after 2 days, you go, means they say that it's a weekend, come by next Monday. Ultimately, a week will be gone to open a bank account, correct? Whereas in private banks, it's very responsive. Once you say that I want to open a bank account, they ask some details of you, some documents, literally they'll open it. Even right now, you doesn't need to physically visit the private banks at all, correct? Yeah, everything is based on mobile right now. So responsiveness is also important factor. So even in government hospital is worst, correct? Once you visited government hospital, for any reasons, I don't know how many of you chance of visiting government hospitals. Government hospitals, that too the largest ones, right? Once you visit there, you pray that even after death, I should not come here. I don't know how many of you got that experience of visiting government hospitals. I'm saying as a common man, okay. And if you are a doctor, it's not an issue. As a common man, you go for government hospitals, you feel that, okay, people's life is not given importance there, correct? A lot of incidents happen like that, correct? So I don't know how many of you know that, okay, for dog bite you went, okay. Oh, I don't know how many of you know this information, correct? I think 2 years before something happened in Tamil Nadu, it was a national sensation. Anyone able to identify that? Based on government hospital only. Anyone able to identify that? 2 years before, there was something national sensational event happened, and the entire India was feeling sorry for one patient there. Can you able to remember that? So nothing but blood transfusion. I don't know how many of you know that. A pregnant woman, there was a blood transfusion done in hospital, and that blood got HIV positive. Right now, government is giving 15,000 or 10,000 for that woman on a monthly basis. Money is not important here, correct? Lethargic character of government hospital resulting in a person getting HIV positive. Blood transfusion was done, and that transfused blood got HIV positive. That was not properly tested. Happened in government hospitals. Okay. So responsiveness means ability to provide the services as and when needed. Okay. The next thing is effectiveness. Right now we saw what is effectiveness means. Okay, that's donor also suicided. Correct, that's correct. That happened during the time. So effectiveness means nothing but ability to reach the goals, which we already saw. Ability to reach the goals, effectiveness. And there are a few examples in Indian system. A good example of effectiveness. They are able to reach the goals. Some programs are there. Example is NHRM. National Rural Health Mission was considered to be a successful program in India. Please understand, successful program means we are not saying from Indian perspective. Global organizations said that NRHM in India was very successful. So we are not saying from India perspective. We are saying from global perspective. So NRHM is one such good example. Similarly, MG-Narega. So MG-Narega was also a good example of successful program in India, MG-Narega. And recently you can also relate with Swachh Bharat. Swachh Bharat was also considered to be a successful one. So thus we call it as effectiveness. So these are the programs in India considered to be successful. The next thing is efficiency. So can anyone say what is efficiency means? Can you able to remember efficiency from college times? If you are from engineering background, you are able to remember efficiency. Can you say what is that thing? If you are not, no issues. If you are from engineering background, can anyone say what is efficiency means? Making most with output. That's correct. That's nothing but input-output ratio. That's correct. What is efficiency means? Output by input. That's more mechanical aspect or engineering aspect. What is efficiency here means? Optimum use of resources. Efficiency means optimum use of resources. So in any development process, how we are optimally using resources, that's called efficiency. My question is India an efficient country? Is India an efficient country? What's your understanding? Is that we are efficient? is that we are able to use the resources optimally, or especially if we take government, is that government efficient enough? You can literally know that it's not very efficient enough, correct? A lot of resources are with the government which are not effectively used. Can you give any examples like that? Any good example of government resources not effectively used? Even you know that this can be effectively used, but they're not using it properly. Underutilization of fund, correct? Coal is good example. Air India is a good example, correct? Similarly, land bank, is that government has a huge land bank. So in India, government is holding large parcel of lands. Example, railways. But you can see that that's not effectively used. Railway is not effectively using the land bank. So efficiency is the most important aspect. Okay. Next thing is equitableness. So can anyone say what is the difference between these two terms? Equity and equality. So any idea what is the difference between this term equity and equality? Your interpretation of the term equity and equality. What is equity? What is equality? Your common man understanding. Treating unequals unequally. Okay. Each according to the needs. Equity is making weaker person par with normal person. Equality, treating everyone same, treating like equals. Equity, equal share. Okay. Why I'm asking this is, please understand, what is equality means treating everyone same. That's called equality. A good example for equality is voting rights or NEET examination. So these are few examples of equality, treating everyone equal without any differences. What is equity means? Equity means to provide, equity means to provide democratic benefits, based on, to provide democratic benefits based on understanding historical disadvantages. That's called equity. To provide democratic benefits by understanding historical disadvantages. And which is good for public services, equality or equity? Which is important for a public service, equality or equity? Please understand, it's more important is, both is required. The most important thing is equity. Because in every society, there will be some disadvantages for a certain group of people. So they should be given some preferential treatment. Okay. That's called equitableness. So in good governance, equitableness is an important character. And next thing is inclusiveness. So when you say inclusiveness, first we need to go for weaker sections. Then we know what is inclusiveness means. Weaker section. So can you say how you identify a group as a weaker section? How you say a group as a weaker section? In a society, you say these people are weaker sections. How we identify them as a weaker section? Any criterias, or what is the basis on which? Less education, literacy, less number. It's not numerical strength, economy, okay, income, HTI, okay. So less education, overall socio-economic status, poverty line, okay, not on higher post, okay. Less representation in public post, okay. Radan, what does weaker section means? What is weaker section means? Lack of opportunities. Lack of opportunities in socio-economic, political and technological sphere. Lack of opportunities in socio-economic, political and technological sphere. So who are the examples of weaker section in India? Who are the examples of weaker section in India? Who are the good examples? Women, SC, ST, tribes, correct? Simple concept. Except male, everyone is a weaker section in India. You can write anyone in that. Women, SC, ST, children, old age, all are part of weaker sections. Okay. Senior citizens, that's correct. Minorities, all are part of weaker section. What is the inclusiveness means? For this weaker section, how we are including them in mainstream. For example, this includes political inclusiveness, social inclusiveness, and economic inclusiveness. Political, social, and economic inclusiveness. What is political inclusiveness? Reservation. For weaker section, we have a reservation on political inclusiveness. And for social inclusiveness, all the programs. You go and check all the programs in India, all are focused on weaker sections. For example, if we take women, any good examples of programs related to women in India? Even we have a Ministry of Women and Child Development, correct? So what are the programs we have for it? We have a lot of programs for women in India. So that you can relate it. Okay. The next thing is economic inclusiveness. Right now, a lot of technological solutions are created for this. Take example of BIM. So BIM app is a good example of economic inclusiveness. So my question is UPSC focusing on inclusiveness? Is UPSC focusing on inclusiveness? Yes. How we can say yes? One is reservation. Apart from reservation, economically weaker section. And the most important thing is free for women. The entire examination process, women doesn't need to pay your money, correct? And they even say that, please understand, it's an unwritten one. There is no rules like this, but there are some rumors or some theories saying that if a woman reaches to interview stages, okay, a women candidate reaches to the interview stages with the same level of performance compared with male, they are given extra 1 or 2 marks. If it is a married woman, they are giving extra 3 to 4 marks. Can you say why? But the performance should be the same. Can anyone say on what basis for women extra 1 mark, for married women extra 3 to 4 marks? What may be the reason for this? Why for married women they are giving extra 3 to 4 marks? What the reason behind this is? Because society is the reason, that's correct. The reason is nothing but in our Indian society, especially culturally after marriage, women got a lot of responsibilities. The married woman able to reach to the level of interview, that clearly shows her management capacity, management skills. Able to take care of the family, able to study and reach to the level of interview, that clearly shows her management skills. So they are saying that probably they can give extra 3 to 4 marks for a married woman, correct? Can a male demand like that? Can a male go and demand like that? Sir, I am also married, give me extra 3 marks. I am taking a lot of responsibility, correct? Can you do like that? So literally no. And please understand, marriage is not a factor at all. Keep that in mind. Even if a married male, you get into services, it's not an issue. But there are some preferences, that's the saying. Okay. And finally, last one, rule of law, Article 14. Rule of law, Article 14 of Indian Constitution, rule of law. So what is good governance means? You need to have all these value systems. That's called good governance. So any clarification on this? Any doubts? Just go through these values. Any doubts in this? Any clarification or doubt? Any clarification, just ask me, or else we go for the other ones. How are they quantified? Please understand, for these value systems, quantifying is not easy process, correct? But there are few factors we can easily quantify. For example, participation means, take the example of election process. We know how much is they participating. There are certain factors we can't do it very precisely. For example, if we take effectiveness, most of the social programs effectiveness we can't do it in 1 or 2 years. For example, creating a program for health improvement, can we able to judge that within 1 year? No. Education, please understand, education impact you can't see it in 1 or 2 years. Take example, right now we have this new education policy. You know this new education policy right now of the government. Can you say within 1 year what is the impact of that? No one knows, because this new education policy at least take 10 to 15 years to see the impact. So there are certain areas where we can easily measure, but these are the things we need to have it. Without that we can't do anything. Okay. So equity one time. What is equity means? Take India as an example. India is divided based on caste. That caste hierarchy, you know that the last level, there are 4 levels of caste hierarchy. In the last level, people are denied a lot of opportunities for thousands of years. For example, if you take SC and ST populations, for thousands of years before 1950, they are denied opportunity in socio-economic, political spheres. So equity means what you want to do is give them some extra preferential treatment. That's called equity. Take example right now regarding reservation can be a good example, or reservation in promotion can be a good example. That's called equity. Okay. Positive discriminations. So I assume that there is no doubt. I'll go for the next one. Next thing is attributes or characters. Write down one after the other. I'll explain it and we go for the remaining things. Attributes of good governance. Write down the first one. Right sizing governmental functions. What is right sizing governmental function means? Governmental functions need to be classified as commercial and strategic functions. Commercial and strategic functions. And what is right sizing here means? Government should be more focusing on strategic functions. The commercial functions can be given to any private players. Can you understand the point? That's called right sizing governmental functions. So you identify government function as a strategic function and commercial function. And commercial function you privatize, give it to any private players, they can run the thing. Whereas strategic functions need to be taken care only by the government. For understanding, we take some examples. So can you give examples of strategic functions? What does strategic function means? Which is essential for our democracy. We can't give it to any private players. What are those functions? Use your common sense. Can we give that to any private players? There are certain functions in our society essential for our democracy which cannot be done by any private player. What are those functions? One is defense, law and order. That's correct. Great example. There are a few examples like police, election, defense. My question is, can we give it to any private place, all these areas? So can we give it this to any private place? For example, Adani running the police stations in India. Good or bad? Adani running the police stations. Can you understand the point? Correct? And one country paid heavy price for this. Which country was that? As US. When US invaded Iraq, you know that Iraq was invaded by US. They privatized the military services. Privatizing the military services. That was given to a company called Blackwater. And this Blackwater was started by former Navy SEALs. Who are these Navy SEALs? Any idea? Who are these Navy SEALs? Can you identify who are these Navy SEALs? So Navy SEALs are considered to be the most specialized force in the world. To understand the importance of Navy SEAL, they were responsible for eliminating Osama bin Laden. You know that Osama bin Laden was eliminated, even a movie made out of it. Which country was Osama bin Laden hiding? Can you identify in which country he was hiding? He was hiding in Pakistan. US Army. We say US Army, but it's not US Army. It was done by Navy SEALs. They entered Pakistan and eliminated him, correct? And this company was started by former Navy SEALs, Blackwaters. After a few years in Iraq, this company was working for the enemy of US. Who is the enemy of US? And they were working in Africa. Who are considered to be enemy of US? Can you identify who are the enemy? One is Iran. Apart from Iran, who are the other enemies? Russia. And who is right now emerging as the biggest threat for US? US is biggest headache right now. China, correct? And this Blackwater was working for Chinese companies in Africa. And US asked whether you are patriot or you are doing like this. We trained you in army, but you are working for China. But the company gave a reply, please understand, we are not working for any flag. We are working for money. What we can understand here is strategic functions you cannot privatize. That need to be done only by the government. Commercial functions you can privatize. Example, Air India. Outrightly you can sell Air India because it's not the domain of government. It can be run by any private place. So this is called right sizing governmental functions. Identifying the strategic functions and commercial functions. Strategic functions need to be done only by the government. It should not be given to any other private place. And next thing is greater use of IT and management techniques. IT, we already saw about e-governance. IT, we already saw e-governance. And right now, what is the other area we are working is, apart from e-governance, what is the other area we are working is? Any modern technologies we are working on it? Any modern technologies we are working on it? Apart from e-governance. Right now we have this AI, correct? Artificial intelligence. Please check this in Google. I think indiaai.gov. Just type this in Google. Just take 30-40 seconds, go through it. indiaai.gov. I think that's the link. You just go through it. Is that able to get it? There's an official website of India regarding AI. That's the thing I'm saying. Is that you're able to get that in Google? indiaai.gov, something like that. Yes, okay. So in that, go and check case studies. So there's a tag called case studies. These are examples. You can write it anywhere. Is that you got that case studies tag? If you put yes, that will be well and good. I'm just giving the link here. You need to work on it. Is that you're able to get that? Case studies. And they have given few examples. Like Tamil Nadu, we have a facial recognition attendance and all. In schools. Agriculture, they given some examples. That's called initiative. Sorry if I said case studies, or it's called initiative. Initiatives. Just check all these things. When you're free, just go through this website. You get a better understanding. All our examples, please understand. While writing answers, you can use this as an examples. So greater use of IT, e-governance or AI. Recently, we have this. What that thing is? So this is a website, indiaai.gov. indiaai.gov. And in that, there are a lot of examples for your answers. Just check it out. So a greater use of IT and management techniques, you can put this PPP. Public-private partnerships. PPP is nothing but public-private partnerships. Good example. Good example of management techniques. PPP model. Okay. Next thing is decentralization and ethics. And good example of decentralization and ethics is we can put that under 73rd and 74th Amendment. 73rd and 74th Amendment. That's called a good example of decentralization. 73rd is regarding rural areas and 74th is regarding urban areas, or popularly we call it as Panchayat and municipalities. Popularly we call it as Panchayat and municipalities. That's called decentralization. The next thing is ensuring accountability. And we already saw what is accountability means. Answerability for public actions. The next thing is institutional reforms. And please understand, institutional reforms is a general term. There are a lot of areas where we are reforming in India. Can you give examples? What are reforms done in India in major areas? So what are those reforms? Any idea? So what are reforms done in India? One is coal sector, LPG is one. I'm saying last 5 to 6 years, what are major areas reformed? Education reforms is done. Okay, just check this. Education reform. Education reform. Tax reform is the most important thing, correct? So what are the new tax introduced in India's new tax? GST is introduced, correct? Niti Aayog is there, another reforms. Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog reform. Banking reform is happening, correct? Banking reforms are happening. Reforms in banking sector, correct? And farm reforms are there. Farming sector. Even in civil services, we have reforms. Just check all these things where you can use it as a point in your answer writing. Civil service reforms. Lack of space, I'm writing like this. Civil service reforms. Any good examples of civil service reform? Any good example of civil service reform? In the recent past, any good example of civil service reforms? Okay, that's one is Karma Yogi is one, changing pattern, economically weaker section, correct? Mission Karma Yogi. Just check all these things. So institutional reform is a general term. Please keep that in mind, which includes a lot of other things. Revised cadre policy, correct? Cadre policy is being revised. Right now, entire India is divided into zones. Before that, all 28 states, you can list it out. But based on zones only, right now, we go for cadre policy. Okay. So all these are the aspects of good governance, attributes of good governance or characters. Any clarification in this? Any doubts in this particular slide? Any doubts in this particular slide? Right now, we go for the next one. Challenges of good governance. Right on the first point, we'll explain one after the other. Challenges of good governance. So right on the first point, one after the other, we go for the others. Challenges of good governance. First one is corruption at various levels. So can anyone say what is corruption means? So can anyone say what is corruption means? What corruption stands for? The term corruption is. Your understanding of the term corruption, what is corruption means? Corruption means misdeeds, leakage, not doing our duty, okay. Illegal, deviation from ethics, okay. Then bribe, okay, bribe, using money to bypass laws, misuse of one's position, public office, okay. Write down what is corruption means. Misuse of public authority. That's called corruption. We'll see that in later, in depth. Corruption means misuse of public authority. Whether India is a land of corruption or not, your understanding? India is the least corrupt or highly corrupt country? Least corrupt or highly corrupt country, India? Please understand, India is a highly corrupt country, correct? It's not middle. India is a highly corrupt country. And can anyone say what is the impact of corruption? So if there is corruption in a society, what will happen to the society? You are understanding. What will be the impact? Because poverty will be there. Apart from poverty, no development, loss of faith, great. Breakdown of government machinery, concentration of power, inequality, correct? We'll see all in the detail in the coming classes. There's a topic for corruption. So corruption is considered to be the biggest challenge of good governance. Because corruption will compromise on the good governance values. Because corruption will not have transparency. Because of corruption, there will be no transparency. Because of corruption, there will be no participation. So ultimately, this all results. So corruption is the first biggest challenge for good governance. Okay. And you know what is corruption right now means. Next, centralization of power and authority. Centralization of power and authority, the second point. And to understand this, we need to go for the year of 1975. Centralization of power and authority, the year of 1975. Can anyone say what is the importance of 1975 to India? The importance of 1975 to India. National emergency, or what we call it as internal emergency, correct? National emergency, or called as internal emergency. And this was a good example of this centralization. And can anyone say who was the highest decision maker during that time? We have Prime Minister and Council of Ministers, but during 1975, who was the only decision maker in India? That was a Prime Minister, and who was the Prime Minister was Indira Gandhi, correct? She was the only decision maker. To understand this, when declaring this national emergency, can anyone say what the article number for this? Is that emergency topic taught for you in polity classes? Emergency topic? So I'm asking which article is related to it. So I'll just give the hint. That is Article 352. Article 352 is called as national emergency. After the classes, just check this. Article 352, national emergency. And to show that how centralization happened is, even the declaration of national emergency, the ministers never know it. Indira Gandhi took the decision, asked the president to implement national emergency. Even the ministers never know it. Centralization of power. And during this time of national emergency, can you say which right was highly violated? Any idea? Which right was highly violated during this national emergency? Use your common sense. Which right was violated? Article 21. Apart from Article 21, the most important thing is Article 19. And please understand, Article 19 is a political right. Can you say how? How Article 19 is a political right? Can anyone able to understand my question? Article 19 is a political right. How it's a political right? There are 6 rights under Article 19, right? Freedom of speech and expression, which includes freedom to criticize the government. Freedom of movement includes freedom to protest. Form association, you can form political parties. During 1975, all this was violated. You will understand the point. This is a good example of centralization of power. And another good example of centralization of power you can relate with Planning Commission. This is an incident happened in India in 1975. This is an institution. 1975 is an incident of centralization of power. Planning Commission as an institution is a good example of centralization of power. Can you say what is the problem in centralization of power? What is the biggest problem in centralization of power? Can you understand my question? What are the biggest challenges in centralization of power? So what are the biggest challenges in centralization of power? The biggest problem is no checks and balances, no voice for ground level, cannot solve grassroots level issues. Please understand, in India, we cannot have centralized authority. The reason is, India is a diverse country. And no one in India can represent the entire India. Can you understand my point? No one personality cannot represent entire India. Even take the present day Prime Minister. You know that Prime Minister is the most popular in India. But can you say in which state he doesn't have any popularity? Can you say in which state our Prime Minister doesn't have any popularity? Most of the India, he has a great popularity. Which are the states? One is Kerala is one. Apart from Kerala, Tamil Nadu is one. And apart from Tamil Nadu, West Bengal is one, correct? And recently you know what happened in West Bengal. Our Chief Minister and Prime Minister, our Chief Minister openly stated that I will not speak in that meeting, correct? Not only government, even people never support Prime Minister there. Literally you can see that. So in a diverse country, you cannot have centralization. So centralization is the biggest threat for good governance. Okay. Next, criminalization of politics. The next one is criminalization of politics. That is criminal entering into political system. That's called criminalization of politics. Can anyone say what percentage of MPs have criminal backgrounds? That's some factual statement for this. Anyone have an idea? What percentage of MPs in India have criminal background? 80% is very high. It's not 80%. So right now they say it's around 40%. 40% of MPs have criminal background, correct? Please understand, this is at the national level. Can you say in state level, which are the worst states? So which are the worst states in criminalization of politics? In state level, I'm asking, MLA level. Bihar is one. Apart from Bihar, UP. Please understand, no state is different in this. All states, we have criminals in politics. The type of crime only changes. For example, if you take southern states, most of the time politicians' crime in which area they'll dominate? If you take southern states, which areas they'll dominate? In what type of crimes they will involve in it? Mostly they are involving in corruption, or what we call it as white collar crimes. Politician in southern India will be dominated with white collar crimes. Corruption, all these things. But if you go for North India, what type of crimes they'll be involved in North India? North India, what type of crimes they'll be involved in is not religious one. It's all based on hardcore crimes or heinous crimes. Either it can be murder, rape, dacoity, correct? And I think you're able to remember what happened in UP. One MLA was involved in a rape incident, correct? Rape crime, and like movies, he was killing the witness. All this was happening there, correct? Even who's the Chief Minister of Jharkhand right now? Drugs, guns, that's correct. Who's the Chief Minister of Jharkhand right now? And as a person with Chief Minister of Jharkhand, Hemant Soren, that's correct. I think it's Hemant Soren. And recently there was a rape case against him. He's the chief minister right now. And how this is personally related to you is, please understand, write your mains examination well and get into the cadre of South India. It's always better because people in North India, politicians are considered to be hardcore criminals. Okay. So criminalization of politics is one of the biggest challenges for good governance. Okay, right now in India, it's one of the biggest headache. The next thing is violation of human rights, another biggest problem for good governance. And to understand violation of human rights, we can take the example of AFSPA. What is AFSPA means? Armed Force Special Power Act. Armed Force Special Power Act. And can you say in which state is being implemented AFSPA? Which state is being implemented AFSPA? Right now we see in newspaper a lot. One is Assam. Apart from Assam, what may the other states implemented is northeastern states, correct? Mostly we can see AFSPA is dominated in northeastern states and Jammu and Kashmir. To understand AFSPA, first we need to relate with other states. Assume that you are being arrested by the police. You belong to Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Maharashtra, or any place. If you are being arrested by the police, can anyone say what the procedure police need to follow? Any idea? What a procedure police need to follow in this arrest? FIR is one. Apart from FIR, right now you are being arrested for any reasons. Okay, what may the first one is to inform the ground of the arrest. That's correct. On what reasons you are being arrested. Second is you need to be provided a lawyer. Lawyer need to be provided for you. Third most important thing. The third most important thing is within 24 hours, you need to be produced in front of magistrate. Can you understand the point? If you are being arrested right now, they need to give the reason for the arrest. They need to provide you a lawyer. Third one is within 24 hours, you need to produce in front of the magistrate. This is a normal procedure. But if there is an AFSPA is there, assume that you are working for CRPF and you are posted in Manipur. And you are going by a road. In front of you, there are two persons standing. Based on assumption, please understand, underline this. Based on assumption, you are the officer, you are the assistant commandant of CRPF, you are going by the road. There are two local persons standing in front of you. Based on the assumption that this person can be an insurgent, what you can do is, you can skip all this thing. You can arrest them and put in jail. Can you understand the point? You can skip all these procedures. That's the power of AFSPA. What happens right now is, sometimes this AFSPA is misused by security forces. And whose rights are highly violated under AFSPA in area? Can you say in whose rights is highly violated under AFSPA? That's the reason why it becomes media attention. The entire world is looking over it. And you can see that especially women rights. So women rights is highly violated because of this AFSPA. So violation of human rights is also a biggest challenge for good governance. So any clarification in this? Any clarification in this slide? Any doubts or clarification in this? Shall we go for the next one? If you put yes, we'll go for. What is Jharkhand cases? Please understand, it came in 2 or 3 days before newspaper. A case was filed against the chief minister for rape crime. I think it happening in Maharashtra somewhere. Case is filed in Maharashtra. So we don't know what happened to that particular incident. It's also not required. Just leave it out. Just to say that how it's very problematic in India. How women rights are affected. Please understand, under AFSPA, you can see that sometimes security personnel misbehave with women. And even they involve in rape and all. But ultimately they use AFSPA as a safeguard for them. Correct? For example, if they want to search, they think that what security forces say is, we thought that that woman will be an insurgent. So we have done a search on her. So they're like that, they'll misuse AFSPA. That's the reason why women's rights are being violated, especially in northeastern states. Okay, women's rights are highly violated because of AFSPA. Please understand, only the wrong actions are coming in media. For 365 days, Only 3 or 4 incidents happens like that. Okay, why I'm saying this is we'll see that later why OSPA is also required. But that should not be misused. If the law is provided, that should not be misused. Okay. Yes, our own armed forces only violate. Correct. One of the reasons they say is why our armed forces are not behaving properly is my question is, so what are the qualification to become an army soldier, army jawan or CRPF jawan and all? Can anyone say what the qualification required is? Okay, if a person want to become an army jawan or if a person want to become a CRPF jawan or BSF jawan, I'm asking jawan, not officers level. So it's nothing but 10th pass or something. So they say that education qualification is not that much matched with their role. So they're not very aware what they want to do. There is one reason they are saying, and also sometimes they also do the violation. There should be proper actions. Okay, that's a different part. Internal security, they'll teach all these things. Passion, patriotism, sacrificing family life. Okay, they're doing all these things, but my question is, what's the qualification? I think 10th pass is enough to become a jawan. Please understand, I am not saying that everyone in uniform services, every army soldier or every army jawan is like that. There are few exceptions who are misbehaving. That is the reason it coming into media attentions. And most of the time, others are very conscious, very properly behaving. 1 or 2 incident happens, that gets the limelight. That's the problem here. Okay, I'm not saying everyone is like that. The next thing is right on the 5th point. Right on the 5th point. So weak legislatures. You finish off 5th, I'll explain it and we go for the remaining one. So once you finish, put yes so that I can explain this. Okay, what is this 5th point is challenges of good governance. Legislatures with poor knowledge about development and low level of education. This is another biggest problem in India. We know that most of the time people without education getting into politics, they never understand what is development means. That has an impact on good governance. Okay. And there are a lot of examples across India and especially in Tamil Nadu, there are good examples for this, correct? And you know that in Tamil Nadu, most of the ministers are Nobel laureates. They are the most innovative people in the world, correct? And what is a good incident for understanding this is, they have a lot of solution for our problems, correct? Innovative solutions, but that's not scientific also, correct? You know this thermocol incident in Tamil Nadu. The minister want to stop the evaporation of the dam and he floated thermocol. Within 5 seconds, it just washed away. And the worst part is, who was standing behind him? Any idea? Who was standing behind him? Please understand, an IAS officer, district collector was standing behind him, correct? And you know that it will not work. Even if you are there, for example, assume that you are the district collector there during that time, during that incident. You know that will not work, correct? But what you do is, okay, leave him. Whatever he want to do it. Okay, we know that it will not happen, correct? So Sandeep Nanduri was there. That's correct. So that also happens there. Sometimes as an IAS officer, you may be the most knowledgeable person in India, but you are coupled with the other extreme opposite, correct? Other extreme opposite, the person without knowledge will be the minister for you. Sometimes you need to do some stuffs. You know that it will not work. So like thermocol incident in Tamil Nadu, a lot of other states also have examples. Not Tamil Nadu is the only state we have such incidents. I think in Maharashtra once there was a dam burst. The media went and asked the responsible minister who was responsible for that particular portfolio why it happened, and the minister gave a reply that there were a lot of crabs in that dam. He took away the stones, so it got busted. That's the reply he gave to the media. It happened in Maharashtra. Another good example happened in Bihar once. So when you go for Bihar, Lalu Prasad Yadav, one of the important politicians in India, belongs to Bihar. Once he made his sons as ministers, one as a deputy chief minister, another as a health minister. And this was a question asked to the health minister of Bihar by the media. Sir, right now we have air pollution, one of the biggest problem. What we need to do for this? And he said that as a health minister, yes, what you're saying is correct. Air pollution is the biggest problem in India right now. One of the major reasons is automobiles. So automobile is the major reason for air pollution. As a health minister, what I suggest is, he said to the media, hereafter for officials in Bihar, we should not give cars. We need to provide horses. Can you understand the point? Assume that you are the district collector of Bihar. You will not be given as an official car. You will be given a horse. You need to ride to the office in the horse. You need to tie the horse. Make sure that everything is fed or not. That's the level of understanding. So a lot of examples are like this. So one of the biggest problem in India is the MPs and MLAs not knowledgeable about development. Or good example for this, take example. Right now we say about data privacy and all, correct? Or take example of nuclear field. Any law regarding data privacy or nuclear energy, is that MPs can understand this? Any MPs can understand? Literally no, correct? Recently also we have this cow science exam is there. Okay, leave out that. We should not touch this a lot. Okay, then you'll become an anti-Indian. Okay. So cow science aspect is also there. Okay. So weak legislature with poor knowledge or poor understanding of poor development aspect, correct? They doesn't have a knowledge about development. Okay. So in Tamil Nadu, there are 2 or 3 ministers who are always a fun part for it, correct? The next thing is, can anyone say in entire India who are the knowledgeable politicians according to you? For this point, I'm asking who are the knowledgeable politicians in entire India? Prime Minister, okay. Prime Minister is one. Shashi Tharoor is one. Okay, Shashi Tharoor is acceptable one. Subramanya Swamy is one. Okay, Chidambaram, correct. P. Chidambaram is one. Kapil Sibal is one. Okay. Jairam Ramesh. Dayanidhi Maran. Manmohan Singh, unquestionable one. Manmohan Singh is the right person. Most knowledgeable one. Smriti Irani, knowledgeable. Okay. So I'm not aware. Okay, probably you may say it. Foreign Minister, great example, correct? And they say about Foreign Minister, who's our Foreign Minister right now is Jaishankar, correct? And we have friends in Foreign Services. They say that as a Jaishankar right now, Foreign Minister, their work is minimized a lot. Why their work is minimized a lot is whenever they go for bilateral talks with any country, he's such a knowledgeable person. As a foreign service guy, you can learn from him. You doesn't need to prepare anything for that. Prepare in sense, you need to have some basic preparations. Nothing need to be done because he is very knowledgeable and he know what is happening around him. And he gives some inputs for the service guys, what need to be done. They said that before that, politicians were foreign service ministers. So not foreign service, foreign ministers, politicians. And they say that literally they never know anything. Everything they'll turn to us and ask what need to be said. Right now, we are very happy that we have a foreign service guy as a minister. So that is there. So Jaishankar, there are a few examples, correct? I don't know how many of you know Piyush Goyal. Piyush Goyal is the most knowledgeable one. Similarly, Jayant Sinha. So these are a few examples. And out of 500 MPs or MPs, literally you can say 10 to 15 MPs are most knowledgeable one, or 20 MPs are knowledgeable one. Most others doesn't know what is happening around them. Okay. So Nirmala Sitharaman, okay, knowledgeable. Okay, it's your view. So probably she also may be knowledgeable one. Let's see what happens to the economy. Next thing is poor people's participation in development process. Next point, right on 6th one. After this, we go for a break. Poor people's participation in development process. In this, there are 2 dimensions we need to understand. One is election and tax payments. So can anyone say what percentage of Indians are taking part in elections? What percentage of Indians are taking part in elections? Is that entire India is taking part in elections or what percentage? So that's correct. It's approximately around 60 to 70 percentage. So remaining 30 to 40 percentage never take part in elections. There are multiple reasons for it, correct? And this is all India average. Which is very worst? Urban India or rural India? Which is very worst in this? Urban India or rural India? Please understand, urban India is very worst. Urban India, what is the participation is around 40 to 45 percentage. Simple thing, when your education level increases, your taking part in election reduces. Urban India, especially in metro cities like Chennai, Mumbai, Bangalore and all, election only 40 to 45 percentage of Indians take part. Okay, that's the biggest problem in India. The next thing is tax payments. When you say tax payments, can anyone say what percentage of Indians are paying direct taxes? Out of 100 people, how many people are paying direct taxes? Any idea? 14 percentage, 10 percentage, 80 percentage means India will be a developed economy. Please understand. 23 to 30 percentage. Please understand. It's around 3 to 4 percentage. Out of 100 Indians, only 3 to 4 Indians are paying the direct taxes. One of the reasons is agriculture is the dominant one in economic activity. Around 60 percentage of Indians are in agricultural activities. Beyond that, only 3 to 4 percentage of Indians are paying direct taxes. Please understand, with this tax only, government need to spend money. So go and check this factor. Go and check this factor. Tax to GDP ratio. Tax to GDP ratio, one of the lowest in the world, and government try to improve this. This can be a point for your answer writing. Go and check what is this tax to GDP ratio. Compare with our neighbors, China, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. Compare with our neighbors, where we stand. Compare with developed countries like US, UK, France. What is tax to GDP ratio? India is the lowest one. So government tax collection is very less, but we are spending a lot of money for development. One of the advantages, India's numerical strength is high. We are 130 crore population. 4 to 5 percentage means you can calculate it, sometimes more than the taxpayers of European countries. That's the advantage we got. But if you are able to improve the tax payment very well, government can spend a lot of money. Okay. But they get in GST. GST is also there, but there's a potential area we are missing out. That's it. Right now it's 12:30. Take 5 minutes break. After that we can continue the session. Next thing is seventh point, less active civil society. So we know that in India, NGOs are not that dominant, especially Indian NGOs. It's all dominated by foreign players. And recent example for this thing is take Greenpeace or Amnesty International. All are foreign NGOs, and recently government also asked them to move out of India. So less active civil society is another biggest challenge for good governance. In India, we don't have very strong NGOs. Right now, we have few NGOs emerging, but when you go for a global level, it's not that dominant one like Greenpeace or Amnesty International. So they also have a less role in our Indian development process. That's the biggest challenge for good governance. Okay. So less active civil society. You can relate with India specific. Okay. The next thing is right on the eighth one. Poorly empowered grassroots democratic institutions. So it's nothing but we though we have 73rd and 74th, it's not very effective. Can you say why? Though we have 73rd and 74th, why it's not very effective? Any reason behind this why it's not very effective? Less financial devolution. One is lack of funds. So they don't have money. That's another biggest problem. Apart from lack of funds, we also have proxy democracy. What is proxy democracy means? Though women are being elected, but the real decision makers are always male. Either it can be husband or father. They are the real decision makers. So these are some of the problems of decentralization. And how many of you read the recent current affairs in Maharashtra? Maharashtra and local elections. In negative reasons, negative aspects, anyone gone through it? What happened in Maharashtra local elections? Came in newspapers. Anyone gone through it? Okay. Not privatization. What happened in Maharashtra? Maharashtra local elections. Panchayat elections were happening in Maharashtra in 2 villages that was being stopped. The reason is they were auctioning the seats. You know that in Panchayat elections, there were members elected unopposed. One of the reasons for that thing is the seats were auctioned. For the highest bidder, villages will say that, okay, we'll vote for you, give the money for us. That money is spent for construction of temples or roads or similar to it. It's against the spirit of democracy. Though we have panchayats and municipalities, it's not very effective because of these reasons. One is lack of funds and proxy democracy. Now, ninth one is poor coordination among political, administrative, and community level organizational institutions. We've finished, put yes. The ninth point we can visibly see right now under corona pandemic, correct? What government says, the reality will be very different. To understand this, you know that due to corona pandemic, economic opportunities are taken out. Can you say what promises made by government to our people? For last 1 year, there is no economic activity, correct? So what promise made by the Ministry of Finance to a common man? Anyone able to recollect? Anyone able to recollect that? That is initial times of corona, finance minister came out and said something. No, house rent is one. Apart from house rent, you know that for loans, EMI payment. Government said that the bank should not collect EMI payments for 6 months because there is no economic activity. But what the reality was, as an individual, if you have a loan, you can see that how banks pressurize you to pay the EMIs. There's a huge mismatch between government words and actions. So this always happens. That results in bad governance. So that's the 9th point. You can relate with Corona is a good example for it. Corona and interest payments. Next, delay in delivery of judicial decisions. 10th one. Delay in delivery of judicial decisions. So can anyone say what is the time taken to finish off a case in India? Right now, file a case in judiciary. How many years it takes in India to finish off a case? Any approximate numbers? How many years will it take to finish off a case? No time bound, 6 to 7 years, 5 to 6 years, 4 to 5 years, 3 to 5 years. Please understand, India will be a developed country. 3 to 5 years means India will be a developed country. Please understand the time taken in India for finish off a case to 12 to 15 years. India takes around 12 to 15 years to finish off a case. Or to understand this, if you are a lawyer, assume that you are a lawyer, find 5 good clients for you. 5 good clients for you, they'll be there with the rest of your life. They'll be there with you for rest of your life. There's 5 clients, good clients who pay money promptly. So 12 to 15 years the time taken to finish off a case in India, correct? And you can also relate this, you can write these points. Delayed justice can be equated as denied justice. Delayed justice can be equated as denied justice. That's the 10th one. Next thing is 11th one, regarding poor participation of disadvantage in decision making process. An example is Sachar committee. What is the Sachar committee? Okay, I'll explain it later. So what is Sachar committee is nothing but to identify the status of Islamic faith people in India. So this committee was formed to understand how Islamic faith people in India is there, especially in mainstream development. Is there part of mainstream development? What is mainstream development means? All our socio-economic benefits are reaching to them or not. But what are the reality is very different. To understand this, is that people from Islamic faith never work in banks. Can you say why? People from Islam never work in banks. Can you say why? Or they never go to banks. Can you say why? Please understand, in Islam, giving interest or taking interest is considered to be a sin. So because of this, they never work in banks. They never go for banks. So ultimately, Islamic faith people never have a bank account. So they'll not be part of mainstream development because all our economic transaction is based on banks. They are not part of banking systems. So there's a concept called Islamic banking. Go and check this. Islamic banking, a concept introduced in Kerala. Just check what this Islamic banking is. So these are some of the challenges of good governance. Okay, just quickly go through what is governance and good governance. Any clarification, just ask me. So any clarification or doubts, you can ask me. Sir, in pandemic, SC gave a contempt of court case judgment by placing all important cases. Can this mean? I'm not able to get it. Contempt of court case judgment by placing all important cases. Okay. That's correct. In most of the Gulf countries, they have a banking system. They have a banking system in Gulf countries, but the point is, they never say it as interest. That's the point there. Okay. In true Islamic countries, most of the Islamic countries in Gulf, they have a banking system. But they'll not say it as interest. They have given some name for it. That's the concept of Islamic banking. Whereas in India, we call it as interest. So they're not interested to come to banks. Okay. Status of Islamic faith people. Status of Islamic faith people. Pandemic, SC gave contempt of court cases judgment by placing all important cases aside. So contempt of court can be for different aspects. Okay, that doesn't mean that judiciary is overreaching. Okay. So any clarification in this topic, governance and good governance? Any clarification in this topic, governance and good governance? Okay, I assume that there is no doubt. And which is good? What is the which is good? Good is nothing but all these values are good governance. Right from participation to rule of law is considered to be the values called as good governance. I think you're able to understand what is good governance means. Good governance here is nothing but what we discussed as values, from participation to rule of law. So in any structures, you need to have all these value systems, then only call it as good governance. Okay. So I assume that there is no doubts. Okay, shall we go for the next topic? If you put yes, we can go for the next topic. Put a message so that I can go for the next topic. Okay then. Our next topic is e-governance. Article is 14. For rule of law, article is 14. So next topic is e-governance, which also includes mobile governance. So e-governance also includes mobile governance. So can you give examples of e-governance? What you have read in newspapers? Few examples, not exhaustive one. So can you give examples of e-governance? What are projects in India regarding e-governance? Any good examples like that? Umang app is there. Okay, that's good. Umang app is there. Apart from this, any other thing? CoWIN, correct? Right now there is an app for vaccine. CoWIN is there. Then apart from this, eSeva, Arogya Sedu, FASTag, eSeva Center, eSeva, correct? So Kavalan app, right now in Tamil Nadu we have Kavalan app. Then apart from this, any other good examples? Rise Summit, okay. Okay. Then any very digital, okay. PDS. So C Vigil, okay. One is C Vigil is there. C Vigil is there. Similarly, we have this e-passport, e-NAM, BIM app. So these are few examples, correct? Please understand, we are not listing out everything. We are just giving some examples and it gets updated every day because a lot of ministries are coming out with new apps. Just note it down. What are those apps in different areas? Just for understanding purpose, I gave these examples. Right from Umang to BIM app, correct? So we can see that technology is used in public services. That's called e-governance. I don't know what is e-governance means. E-governance means the use of e-governance means the use of information and communication technology, bracket right, ICT. The use of information and communication technology, in bracket right, ICT, to provide public services, in bracket health, education, etc. I'll repeat it. The use of information and communication technology to provide public services, in bracket health, education, etc. Close the bracket. With the values of efficiency, transparency, comma, effectiveness in development process. Effectiveness in development process. And next side heading, e-governance and internal environment. E-governance and internal environment. What is e-governance and internal environment means? Assume that you are a district collector. Can you say on day-to-day basis with whom you interact a lot, within the office with whom you interact a lot on day-to-day basis? So right now you are a district collector, on day-to-day basis with whom you interact a lot within the office. One is clerks. Apart from clerks, deputy collector is one. Okay, then who's the senior for you? Who's the senior? You are the district collector, there'll be some seniors for you, correct? Clerk, deputy collector, tahsildar, RI, okay, secretary. Right now we have secretary, chief secretary, correct? But point is, right now all this communication, all this interaction is based on e-governance. So what are the advantage in this? Can you understand my question? Right now if you are a district collector, all your interaction with your subordinates and superior is based on e-governance. So what are the advantage in this? What are the advantage in this? Frequent communication, faster decision making, okay, everything is recorded, transparent. Then what are other benefits? Other benefits, just assume that you are a district collector. Right now there is no paper format communication. You are not signing the file taken to the next desk. It's not happening. Everything is based on app. Everything is based on some digital platform. What are the advantages? Okay. Reduce the room for corruption. No time lag. Logistic cost is reduced. Okay. Accountability is ensured. Right on the first point in this, what the first point in that internal environment is? First point, faster communication. First point, faster communication resulting in quick decisions. Faster communication resulting in quick decisions. So you are able to make quick decisions in your office because there is a faster communication between you and your subordinates and superiors. That's first point. Second is to provide guidelines, orders in implementation process. So as an authority, you can easily pass the orders to your subordinates, what need to be done, so they will implement it. So that is the next advantage, second one. To provide guidelines and orders in implementation process. Third one, to track performance of subordinates. So you easily can track the performance of the subordinates, what they do, because through e-governance, lot of measures are there, so they can check the performance. Good example for this thing is, right now we know the Swachh Bharat, correct? What an important activity in Swachh Bharat, especially in rural areas, what an important activity in Swachh Bharat? So in rural areas, what they're doing in Swachh Bharat? What infrastructure they're creating in Swachh Bharat in rural areas? They're building toilets. Because of technology right now, as a district collector, you doesn't need to visit any villages to check whether toilets are constructed or not. What need to be done? Any idea? Can you understand my question? You are a district collector. Under Swachh Bharat, for example, there is 500 villages in your district. And toilet construction is happening in all the villages. You doesn't need to physically visit those villages. What need to be done? What is the technology solution for it? Any idea? It's nothing but video call is one. Apart from video call, there is a concept called geotagging. Please note it down. You can use this as a point for your answer writing. Geotagging. Right now we have in Facebook and all our social media platform. What is geotagging means? If you ask your subordinate to take a picture, it will show the location of that picture. So ultimately what happens, if you say that 10 toilets is being constructed in a village, what you want to ask your subordinate is, go and take the 10 pictures for me. And he need to take the real 10 pictures. You can easily identify it based on locations. The same toilet is pictured in different angles for 10 times, you can easily identify it. Right now, even movies made out in Tamil for this, correct? So geotagging is a solution. So easily you can track the performance of your subordinates, what they are doing, if they are saying the true things or not, correct? Just by a picture, you can know it. Just know what is this term geotagging means. Okay. So geotagging is effectively used by government right now for all the projects. They have an app or WhatsApp is there. They need to take a picture and the authorities will check whether it's being properly done or not. So to track the performance of the subordinates. Fourth one is to receive feedbacks and challenges about implementation process. About implementation process. So instantly you get the feedback about what is happening in the field so that you can make some corrective actions. So you can pass on the orders to the subordinates. So these are the benefits of e-governance and internal environment. Within the office, these are the benefits. Next thing is, next slide heading. E-governance and external environment. E-governance and external environment. External environment means you are interacting with the people. So what a benefit here? What a benefit here? Right now, every service is based on e-governance and people are using that. What a benefit here? Can you say what a benefit in this? Okay, transparency is created. Apart from transparency, very practical one. As a common man right now, we are using most of the services based on technology. What are the advantages we are enjoying? Grievance, time is saved, that's correct, time is saved. Reduce workload, accessible, that's correct. Okay, easy of access, reach. The first point is anytime, anywhere, public services. Anytime, anywhere, public services. A better way of understanding this is take the example of IRCTC. Right now, you doesn't need to physically visit a railway station to book a ticket, correct? Once you go for this website, you can book a ticket. Anytime, anywhere. Even in the middle of the night, 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, you can book a ticket. That's anytime, anywhere public services. Second one is to eliminate corruption in public services. Eliminate corruption in public services. Again, you can go for IRCTC again, correct? If you ask your father or mother what's the experience of booking a train ticket, what they want to do is, what the experience is. Right now, by a click of a mouse, you're able to get all those things. But if you take your previous generation, what they want to do is, they want to go for the railway station, they want to stand in a queue. And if they have some other important work, and they also want the ticket. So what they need to do is, the next thing they want to do is, they can't stand in the queue for longer duration. They want to go for hospital. Some other work is there. So ultimately what they want to do is, they want to find a middleman, give the extra money, get the work done. Right now, all these are eliminated. It's nothing but elimination of corruption due to e-governance. Just by a click of a mouse, you enjoy the services. No middleman is required. So no proxies are required. That's correct. Okay, that's the second point, to eliminate corruption in public services. Third one is innovative public services. Innovative public services. So what is innovative public services means? There's a app called DigiLocker. Is that, you know what is DigiLocker means? What is DigiLocker means? Any idea about this term DigiLocker? So what is the importance of this DigiLocker? Anyone came across this term DigiLocker? What's DigiLocker means? You convert all your physical documents into electronic format. Assume that you are writing this examination, civil services, correct? Certificates are must. What are the biggest challenges in this having a physical document? What are the biggest challenge in physical document? What are challenges in physical document, having a physical document? First and foremost thing is keeping it safe, damages, correct? So assume that if a person lost the document, for example, a person lost all the college certificates, school certificates. Can anyone say what is the procedure for it? What is the procedure to get back all those certificates? Any idea? Stolen or lost? Backup is no, it's not backup. For example, assume that I lost my 10th certificate, 12th certificate and college certificate. What I need to do as per procedure? Please understand, I need to file an FIR. Then only I can get back the certificates. Sometimes it costs you more. And sometimes what happens in police station, if they know that, okay, you're going for higher studies in US or something like that, they clearly know that you want the certificate, correct? I'm not saying everyone is like that. There are chances that once they know your situation, you need that certificates as soon as possible. FIR is a must. The cost of FIR will be very high. Right now under DigiLocker, everything is eliminated. All your documents are in electronic format. You can carry anywhere. And it's not a problem of loss or theft. Nothing is there, correct? Cyber security need to be there. But ultimately, you can see that there is a greater advantage when compared with physical documents. Fourth one is, fourth point I'm writing here, accountability. Accountability and transparency. Accountability and transparency in public services. Accountability and transparency in public services. A good example for this thing is, take example of e-passport. Can anyone say which are the departments or which are the ministries involved in issuing passports? So which are the ministries involved in issuing passports? Can you identify which are the ministries are there? One is Ministry of Home Affairs and Ministry of External Affairs. E-passport, what happens is once you apply a passport, they give you a unique ID. With that unique ID, you can track where is the application. Like Flipkart or Amazon, once you place an order, they give you unique ID. You can track your orders. Similarly, under e-passport, based on that unique ID, you can track your application, where it is held up. Whether it's with the Ministry of External Affairs or Ministry of Home Affairs. Home Affairs means local police station. And you can ask what happened to my applications. That's creating accountability and transparency. You will understand the point. So these are the advantages of e-governance and external environment. Right now interacting with the people. Okay. Any clarification in this? Any points you want to add on in this? Any points you think that we can also add in this areas? What is fourth point is accountability and transparency in public services. Accountability and transparency in public services. So for that only I gave the example of e-passport. Right now once you apply e-passport under e-passport link, they give you a unique ID. With that you can track your application. Where it is Ministry of, is it in passport office or it's in police station, you can easily track it. So any other clarifications apart from this? Any doubts? Shall we go for the next one? If you put yes, we can go for the next one. Okay then, I assume that there is no doubt. So we go for the next one. Stages of e-governance. Stages of e-governance. So in any country, there are some stages of e-governance in a government departments. Okay, first one is, there are 4 stages. First one is computerization. First one is computerization. I don't know what is computerization means. Use of computerization. Use of computers in work process. Use of computers in work process. That's called computerization. A good example for understanding this is take EFIR. Please understand, right now in India we don't have it. EFIR, electronic FIR. Assume that you are the SP of a district. What is the advantage for you? EFIR, what is the advantage for you if you are an SP of a district? You are the SP of a district. What is the greatest advantage for you because of EFIR? Electronic FIR. We don't have it right now. Everything is paper format right now. Storing it easy. Okay. Can sign from anywhere. Okay. Then apart from this, any other advantages? Faster. Monitor the performance of the police stations. That's great. Okay. Safety, future purpose. Then any other aspects apart from this? Safety, future purpose. Cannot manipulate. That's great. FIR cannot be manipulated because it's in electronic format. Everyone knows it. That's great. No overuse of authority. Okay, good way of understanding all. These are all the points. Another great example is right now if you are an SP of a district, everything is EFIR. What you can do is you can map what type of crimes happening in particular police station. Can you understand the point? Based on number of cases in the police station, you can do crime mapping. What is crime mapping means? Take example right now in urban areas of India. What are the biggest crimes happening here? All cities in India, what are the biggest crimes happening in the cities? Theft is okay. Cyber crimes, what theft is happening? That's correct. What theft is? Women related. One important crime happens in urban India a lot, especially focusing on women, correct? Chain snatching happens a lot, correct? Take example, you got an EFIR. Right now you are the commissioner of a city. Either it can be Chennai, Mumbai or Bangalore or Trivandrum or any city. You are the commissioner. EFIR is there. What you do is you take the EFIR and look in which locations chain snatching is very high. So what the next thing you want to do is, what the next thing you can do is, this is called crime mapping. Next thing what you can do is, you can take all the corrective measures. What is corrective measures? Right from CCTV or creating awareness among the people or creating local teams, beat, all this can be done. So that's the advantage. Computerization means use of computers in work process. Second one is networking. Networking. What does networking means, Redo? To connect, networking, to connect computers, connect computers of various departments, computers of various departments to enhance efficiency. That's called networking. To connect computers of various departments to enhance efficiency. A good example for this right now in India. In India, we have this program right now. Example, CCTNS. What does CCTNS means? Read out. Crime and criminal. CCTNS means crime and criminal tracking network system. Crime and criminal tracking network system. So what this CCTNS is? Right now all the police stations are connected through CCTNS. So if a person from one state doing a crime in other states, easily there's a data sharing between these states. They know who's a criminal. It's easy to identify it. That's called CCTNS. Or another way of understanding this is, it's a Tamil movie. I think, I don't know what about other languages, especially in South India, they know what, there's a movie called Thiran. I think you're able to remember that movie, Thiran, correct? It's based on real events. What the storyline is, criminals from Rajasthan comes to South India, especially Tamil Nadu, do the crime here. Especially they go for theft, jewelry theft and all. And they kill the people and they go out of the state. And this happened in 1990s or somewhere, based on real events. And state police were searching the criminals within the state. And then only they know that probably people from other states will be doing the crime, because the crime happens in national highways. And what the hero will do is go across the states in India, search the databases to find the criminals. Right now, there is no such story because CCTNS is there. Just by a click of a mouse, you get all those informations. So it will be easy for you. Networking, correct? So Kaki of Karthi, some other movie. Okay, it's in Telugu or Kannada, it's Kaki, correct? Another most important aspect is, please understand, that's the life of a police service officer. Right now, if you are aspiring for police services, the real police service officer will be like that only. What you can understand is, there are times where you can need to leave your family. There are times where you don't have proper basic amenities, no food, no water. You need to roam across India. That's the life of the real police officer. Why I'm saying this is, don't assume that police service officer's life will be like movies like Singham. Right now in Tamil, there's a movie called Singham. Singham 1, 2, and 3. Similarly, in Bollywood, there's a movie called Dabang. Where police officer's life will not be like that. Not even a single day. Okay, don't assume that we will be like Salman Khan or Surya. We can run on the streets, take a gun, shoot everyone. It will never happen. Okay. So, CCTNS is a good examples. Similarly, you can also put NatGrid. National Grid. This can also be used as an example for other point in e-governance. So, NatGrid is nothing but connecting all different intelligence agencies in India. That's called NatGrid. Okay. So, that's the second one, networking. Third one is online presence. Third one is online presence. What is online presence means, right now? Government departments online presence. Government departments providing basic informations. Government departments providing basic informations in cyberspace. That's called online presence. Government department providing basic informations in cyberspace. Fourth one, online interactions. Fourth one, online interactions. Online interactions. A two-way communication. Online interaction means a two-way communication between online interaction. Two-way communication between government and citizens. Between government and citizens. And we take this online interactions. Out of these 4 stages where most of our government departments are, that is computerization, networking, online presence, on online interactions, where most of our government departments are, out of all these 4 stages. Any intelligent guess? The first stage, please understand, we crossed the first stage, and most of our government departments are in this stage, online presence. And government departments means, please understand, I am not saying only union government. We have state governments also, correct? So union government is moving towards this level, online interaction, but most of the state governments and local governments, even in some union government departments, they are only in online presence. Okay. Next thing is online interactions. Online interactions can be classified into 3 levels. One is government to citizen interaction. Online interaction means government to citizen. Next thing is government to business. Next, government to government interaction. So these are 3 levels of interaction: government to citizen, government to business, and government to government interactions. So in this first one is, I'll just go for the first one, government to citizen interaction. Shall I go for the next slide? If you put yes, that will be well and good. Okay. The next thing is government to citizen interaction. So can you say, as a citizen, for what reason we interact with the government? What are reasons we interact with the government as a citizens? Just use your common sense. Okay, right now we are citizens of India, and what reasons we interact with the government? One is grievances. Okay. Okay, for example, grievances. Grievances, or in common man terms, we call it as complaints. So we have complaints against government policies, programs. So that will be there, correct? Next thing is getting benefits. So getting benefits means, for example, very precisely we can put subsidies. As a common man, we try to get subsidies. Can you say what are the areas we are getting subsidies from the government? As a common man, what are the areas we are getting subsidies from the government? For example, LPG cylinders. LPG cylinders, correct? LPG cylinders, agriculture are good examples. The next thing is, there are certain things we get it from the government. What are those things we get it from the government? There are certain things. To say that we are the citizens, government provides certain things we need to get from the government departments. Okay, that's correct. Certificates. There are a lot of certificates given by the government. For example, right from birth certificate to death certificate, correct? And we have income certificate, economically weaker section, and OBC certificate. So all the certificates are given by the government, correct? So government gives all the certificate to us. Similarly, government also provides us IDs. So can you say what are the IDs provided by the government for us? We say citizen only based on government IDs, correct? What are those IDs given by the government? One is Aadhaar. The most important thing is Aadhaar. Apart from Aadhaar, we have voter ID, correct? And driving license is there. Passport is there. Passport is there. So these are a few examples of IDs given by government, correct? PAN card is there. PAN card. And please understand, all this we are getting from the government. In turn, what government expects from us? In turn, what government expects from us? So all these we are enjoying from the government, correct? What government expects from us is, in turn, tax payments. So please understand, these are some of the examples of government to citizen interactions. There are multiple other interactions. The most common one, as a common man, we can easily identify it. Right from grievances, subsidies, certificates, IDs, tax payments. Here comes the role of e-governance. Okay. Write the example. Friends. There's an example in India right now. Friends. Example, friends. I'll say the expansion for this. Fast. Friends means fast, reliable. Fast, reliable, instant, efficient, network, for distribution of services. I'll say it again. Fast, reliable, instant, efficient, network for distribution of services. Again, I'll say fast, reliable, instant, efficient network for distribution of services. You know? An e-governance initiative. In the state of Kerala, to provide public services, such as certificates, utility bill payments, for citizens. What is utility bill payment means? For example, it can be electricity bill or water charges. All are considered to be utility bill payments. And this initiative is created in the state of Kerala. So can anyone say what Kerala is famous for? What the state of Kerala is famous for? Kerala as a state, what is famous for? Coconut oil is okay. Literacy rate is very high. Education is very high, correct? Social development, especially HDI, Kerala is very famous. Human Development Index. And recently regarding local government, why it came in news is regarding local government. I think you're able to remember this youngest mayor in India by the age of 21, correct? Women mayor. So Kerala is famous for all these things. And also Kerala is famous for tourism. Can I even say what is the tagline of Kerala tourism? Corona management is great. That's correct. Okay. God's own country. Please understand, sometimes in UPSC, they can ask questions based on tourism potential also. Which are the states you need to focus a lot as northeastern states. Go and check what are tourism location in northeastern states. You doesn't need to spend a day for it. Every day, just 10 minutes. You go for YouTube, type, for example, Meghalaya tourism. There'll be YouTube video, 5 minutes. Watch it. What are the locations there? Sometimes very basically they'll ask you a question. I think 2 years before there was a question, hanging bridge in which state? It's a tourist location, the hanging bridge. So that was in the state of Meghalaya. You saw the video, you can get all those informations. Similarly, Kerala is very famous for tourism and Kerala is very known for Human Development Index, correct? So these are the greatest aspect of Kerala. But can anyone say what are the problems in state of Kerala? So what are the problems in the state of Kerala? Can you identify the problems in the state of Kerala? Any student from Trivandrum? Unemployment is a problem there, right? Frequent floods. Right now, flood is the biggest issue in Kerala. Then apart from this, remittance. One of the major sources of income for Kerala is remittance. Climate. Government servants will suffer a lot. That's correct. Okay. Normal crops are not cultivated. Environmental issue is the biggest problem. Especially economic development is not that great in Kerala when compared with social development. And major source of income for Kerala is always Gulf money, remittance. Most of the people work in Gulf countries, so they send back money to Kerala. That's one. Apart from this, Kerala has some other unique problems. What a unique problem is that, per capita liquor consumption is very high in Kerala. In Kerala, per capita liquor consumption is very high. One of the biggest problem in Kerala, even they went for this liquor ban in Kerala. So can anyone say which are the other states have a liquor ban? What are other states have a liquor ban? So Gujarat is a traditional one. Bihar has done liquor ban, correct? So just have this in mind. So per capita consumption of liquor is very high in Kerala. That's the biggest problem of Kerala right now. Another most important thing is Sikkim. I'm not aware. Probably they'll have in Sikkim also. Just check it. And another unique aspect about Kerala is regarding civil services. And as a candidate, which service you always prefer as a candidate? Which service you want to get into? Right now, you need to put the service preferences, correct? Which services? Most of the time, you put IAS and IPS, correct? But people in state of Kerala, as a candidate, Kerala candidates mostly prefer foreign services because it's in their culture itself. Because in Kerala culture, once you finish off a graduation, if you ask a person what you're going to do, most of the time what will be the reply of that candidate is, if a friend is in Kerala, finished off a graduation, and if you ask what you're going to do next, what is the most possible answer will be? That person always says that I'm going to work in Gulf countries. Similarly, that reflects in abroad is okay. Then apart from mostly they prefer Gulf countries. And you can see that that also reflects in civil service, where most of the candidates in Kerala always prefer foreign services. Can anyone say what may be the reason behind this? Why this happens in Kerala? What may be the reason behind this? Why culturally people of Kerala is more towards Gulf and foreign countries? Any reason? That's what I'm asking. Why that happens there? The reason is, if you take ancient and medieval India, Kerala interaction with rest of India is very minimal. The reason is geographical location, because it got a Western Ghats. So people from other parts of India cannot interact a lot with Kerala. During ancient and medieval times, you know that Kerala has a great interaction with Gulf countries and especially European countries. To understand this, Vasco da Gama, where he reached first? Vasco da Gama. You know that Vasco da Gama reached Calicut, Kerala, correct? So in ancient and medieval times, the interaction of Kerala with Western world and Gulf is very high because of geographical reasons. So in the culture itself, Kerala people always think that once they finish off a graduation or anything, they want to move out of India. Their interaction with India is very minimal. Only in modern times, because of modern communication and all, they have interaction a lot here. But most of the time, they have interaction with Gulf countries and European countries. That's their in their mind itself. Okay. So right now we'll stop with this. Just go through any clarification or doubts regarding today's topic. Just go through it. We saw what is governance, good governance. We started with the e-governance. Remaining thing we'll see in the next class. Any clarification or doubts? You just ask me if there is any doubts or clarifications. If there is no doubt, shall we wind up the session? If you put yes, that will be well and good. Can we wind up the session if there is no doubts? Yes, okay. Okay, we'll meet in the next class. Thank you.